many people actually have watched or love Japanese anime in the Arab world. But then the question begs me and you, I guess, and hopefully you audience as well, why this anime resonates so much with them. You would assume these two cultures are so different that there's no way this theme that they try to explore is popular or attractive to a lot of Arabic folks. But you'd be surprised because there's a lot of relatable themes.
I like salad. Do you like salad?
Welcome to Canadian Salad,
a fun, factual, and friendly podcast about culture and integration in Canada.
I'm one of your hosts. I'm Ho Shen Ho from China, currently living in Vancouver, unceded territory of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations.
And I'm your other host, Andrea McCoy, an immigrant from the United States, broadcasting you from the unceded traditional territory of the Lekwungen people, the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations.
And you're listening to Canadian Salad.
Yes.
Hi.
We're gonna go nasally today.
I know. Can we talk like this the whole episode?
Oh my gosh. I'm just
like
imagining.
Valley Girl?
It's something. It's like nasal valley. It's like Valley Girl got a carrot shoved up her nose. It definitely is very nasally. I don't know if our listeners would actually enjoy it. If you do enjoy it, if you do, let us know.
Yeah, maybe leave a comment.
Yeah.
Says, we love the
Let
Valley
us
Girl
know.
accent. We should just do a whole Valley Girl accent episode. It'll be funny.
That would be amazing. It'd have to be maybe I don't know if I could hold it that long though. That would be really hard. I might be exhausted.
My voice would be very exhausted. Agree.
Especially with the carrot up your nose. Right?
Carrot?
Just to get that extra nasal.
Oh.
Yes. But welcome back, everyone.
Yes, today is not about Valley Girl or accents.
No, but we're glad you're with us, and we hope you're having a good start to your Tuesday. It's not about Valley Girl voices, although it is about art and
Did you say Valley Girl accents are art?
They can't be, Hoshin. Art imitates life, or does life imitate art? These are philosophical questions that we're not going to answer.
Very.
So.
Yeah, and today we are going to not talk about philosophy.
What are we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about anime and the Arab world.
Fun! Anime!
Two things I would generally think that's not something that, I personally don't link them together.
Same.
Yeah. But they are interestingly very connected.
Very connected. Yes.
I know.
Yeah.
So today we're going to explore the popularity of anime in the Arab world and the reason behind it.
Wow. I'm really excited. I think what prompted this episode, I had seen a mini documentary on this gentleman who was highlighting how anime had such a positive landing in the Arab world. And being someone from the States, that was just fascinating to me because in Western culture, we have not been kind to Arab representation in cartoons or in our movies. So anyway, I'm sure we'll get onto all of it, but that was kind of the exciting piece. I was like, oh, bing, curiosity.
Yeah.
Bing, bing.
Well, what you say is actually true. That's one of the major reasons is the cultural sensitivity and that representation. Definitely which we'll get into it, obviously. But before we get into it, are you an anime lover, Andrea?
So I did not grow up watching anime. I know. It wasn't until actually I had Lincoln, my son, that and I don't know if you would categorize these particular films as anime, but we really fell in love with the Japanese Studio Ghibli films.
I love Studio Ghibli.
Yes. So that's not anime from what I understand, correct? That's...
Yeah, anime in its broad sense is just animation.
Okay.
And like anime, the word anime used to describe Japanese like animation outside of Japan. Of course, in Japan, the word anime means all kinds of animation
Okay.
work.
Okay.
But yes, in a more narrow sense, usually people mean they have to be a series, usually mean these animation series, not necessarily movies.
Yes, yeah. So
Yeah.
we didn't, although we did get into the series. Oh shoot, it's gonna bug me forever that I can't remember this. Um,
What's it about?
it's about four different kids who represent four different elements.
I know. Avatar. Avatar.
Yes, yes. And
Avatar. Yeah.
I didn't know about that growing up. Of course, I was very sheltered. So I'm a very weird person to begin with. But Mark knew about it. So we enjoyed those. We love Studio Ghibli films, like all of
Avatar is not
them.
just from Japan.
Hmm?
Avatar is not from Japan.
It's not from Japan. No, you're
Yeah.
right. It's not. Okay. Anyway, we can
That's okay.
edit that out. So yes, I do love Japanese Studio Ghibli films, but that's about all that my exposure has been. How about you, Hoshin?
I definitely grew up with anime when I was living in
Did you?
China.
Yeah.
Yeah, back then, especially because I, living in Macau, Hong Kong area, even though
Yeah.
there's a lot of Western influence, somehow Japanese anime were the main source of entertainment for kids. I watch, for example, I love Pokemon, I love Magic Card Captor, Sakura, all these
Okay.
animations. I love them. So definitely there's some sort of like nostalgia whenever I think about it.
Yeah.
And I remember every time I got back home from school, there's always the first thing I want to like, oh my God, I will rush to the TV and watch an episode or whatever.
Oh,
And they usually play at prime time meaning like right after school and before dinner
of
time. And always like I
course.
would like stick my face to the TV to finish that before I get to homework or help
Right.
my parents with dinner or something.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a lot of fond memories of that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that accessibility, I'm sure there were stations or places like on cable television that I could access it, but very sheltered life. But that's really neat that, yeah, that you got to grow up with that style.
Yeah, I love that.
Mhm.
And today we're going to explore the Arab world, how they have access to anime and what's the relationship there.
Yeah.
And but as we kind of allude to it already, that anime, surprisingly, I guess to me, surprisingly, is very popular in the Arab world. And Japanese anime first made a significant entry into the Arab world during the 1970s and the 1980s.
Oh, interesting.
Primarily through television networks. Back then, there's not a lot of TV shows or programs specific like that are catered to kids. So all of the cable companies were looking outwardly to try to find programs that cater to kids because mostly they were not for kids.
For adults,
And
yeah.
and then they found well, the biggest kind of creator, in some sense, at that time, had program for kids, mostly Japanese, either Japanese anime or the West.
Mm.
And they found the West. They found the Japanese. They both at early on. But I can still now too. Definitely, like West also has some sort of like maybe Disney also is presented in our world at that time and Japanese animation too. But the Japanese anime were definitely the biggest hit there. Like one of the pioneer anime shows that in the region was a Grendizer.
Okay.
Grendizer. I actually don't know the English name of that. Grendizer, which aired in 1978 and became hugely popular, especially in the country Lebanon and Saudi Arabia. I read this one article in Arab America citing some people that their fond memory of watching when they were younger.
Oh,
When the show also like usually aired during prime time in Lebanon, at least in Lebanon. And then again, when the show was on, the streets were empty. We call when the show was on, the family will always gather together,
that's
watch
where
it
you
together
were.
because the show sometimes also explore themes that are beyond children. It's not just like for kids, like a Mickey
Mm.
Mouse. That's why the show also captures a lot of younger and older alike.
Mm.
And also during when it's first introduced to Lebanon, it was during the Civil War. So
Oh,
for kids
wow.
especially, that is like a nice escape.
Wow.
So people
Wow.
usually stick their face to TV for that, however long the show runs, just for that
Mm.
escape a little bit. So it becomes like a huge public show.
Mm.
And another notable show was Captain Subasa, also known as Captain Majid in Arabic.
Oh,
So again, they
sounds
kind of
really
translate.
familiar.
Yeah, they
Hmm.
can translate it, which is aired in the 1980s and is credited with sparking widespread interest in football or soccer
Ooh.
among the Arab youth. The show, the animation is about like football or
Oh,
soccer.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very cool. Do you know what
yeah.
Grendizer was about? Grendizer? Grendizer?
I think it's like a robot. It's like a in like a sci-fi. It's like a sci-fi show about
Okay.
robots. Yeah,
Interesting. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But it
Very
explore a
cool.
lot of themes like about love, relationships, and
Mm,
environments, and yeah,
hmm. Very
collective
cool.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
many
yeah.
things. And also, like most of these early anime series were dubbed into Arabic. Like Captain, like I said, like Prince Tsubasa was changed name to Captain Majid to
Mm,
in Arabic, so kind of to cater to the Arab audience. And they dub in Arabic and then they broadcast on regional television networks. This kind of
mm,
practice make them more accessible and relatable to local audiences who are initially unfamiliar with Japanese culture, obviously. But also during the process of dubbing, they also change some wording, some of the maybe even narratives and expressions to make it cater or more understandable to the audience in Arab, obviously. So you can say also some article I read also says some censorship was happening in the dubbing process.
interesting.
Yeah, so they will change certain things just to make it suitable for the government and for the audience.
I see. So I'm curious, was Japan doing this to other parts of the world? I assume because I think we haven't really touched on Japan's soft colonialism through Hello Kitty and that whole kind of
Uh,
a thing. But was this kind of that time when Japan was really trying to globalize its culture or kind of its, I guess, its, I don't know, itself? Yeah, influence? Was it doing that to other parts of the world, or was it
from
really
what
centered on Arab countries?
Oh, you mean the show? Oh,
Yeah.
the article I read, it was not necessarily Japan actively trying to sell the anime to other countries. It was the Arab world really trying to find programs
I
from
see.
the rest of the world to find something suitable. And again, they also have Disney, like Disney shows
Uh,
there too. And it just at that time the two biggest player that makes animations that cater to kids at that especially in the time is only the West and Japan. They were
Interesting.
massively
Okay.
producing them and they were successful like domestically. So then like even in China too, like I think a lot of countries, even I read this article that even in Africa, a lot of African countries also will
Mm,
introduce Japanese anime into their continent because at that time there's not much in general, just a really little option. I don't necessarily think
sure.
Japan was actively trying to like
Trying.
push, trying to sell their anime to, to conquer the world in any way.
No.
Because like even like I mentioned, like they would dub some of this anime into cultural censorship too. So I think like if they really wanted to push the Japanese
Yeah.
agenda, quote unquote, I don't think they necessarily would like love this country dubbing their shows, right?
Yeah, yeah, because it's
Yeah.
their language, and you lose you lose a lot in translation and
Yeah.
meaning and all of that. So, yeah, I was just only curious because I think that's when Hello Kitty was really, well, 1980s probably, when that was putting Japan on the market, at least in the West, for a lot of stuff. But it makes sense that you just want something accessible. And to be quite honest, I mean, Western. Anyway, we'll get into that later. So keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll get into that, for example. Yeah, definitely we'll get into that. But as I mentioned, like all these shows will air during prime time, right?
Yeah.
So you can definitely see how it ingrained, like these shows are ingrained into the cultural fabric of the
Yeah.
Arab world because everyone watch is prime time. Most people, that's where most of people gonna see it or at
Yeah.
least know about it. So it definitely gained a huge popularity in the Arab world. According to a survey that I found in 2019 called YouGov,
Uh-huh.
anime has remained an integral part of childhood of millions in the Arab world. 75% of respondents cited Captain Magi as one of their favorite anime series.
Wow.
75%, yeah, 75, more than half, way more than half. And 56 of viewers aged 40 plus, 40, 40, 40 plus recall watching Grendizer
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the first show with that was
Yeah, 80s is about the time that,
yeah,
yeah, most of us
yeah.
are 40.
Yeah, and almost 60% of younger audience, age 16 to 24, reported watching like Dragon Ball Z or Naruto, the kind of newer, I
Mm,
guess, newer shows. And additionally, 42% of young people express interest in manga, which is also like Japanese cartoon, and
yeah.
cosplay, indicating a broader cultural engagement with Japanese media, which of course is introduced. They got introduced manga and cosplay through anime.
Mm,
And this figure definitely indicates like a deep rooted nostalgia and enduring love for anime. It also shows that how much anime has ingrained in their cultural fabric.
yeah. Very interesting. That's
I know.
It makes me want to watch some of these just to see what was it, what were these themes about, and what was the just trying to imagine what maybe the appeal was and why it resonated. But I'm sure you'll get into that bit later. But I like all of these names, and don't worry, everyone, if you're listening, like we do include all of these links to these articles and resources on our website, canadiansalad.ca, so you can check them out directly and get more knowledge and information that way. But
Yes, definitely all the links will be put up where all these are cited. So take a look, please do. And on a broader sense too, it's not just like people liking it. There's a lot of even a Comic-Con or anime conference happens in
yeah,
the Middle East, like just to show you how popular they are. Like
interesting.
there's an annual Middle East Film and Comic-Con held in Dubai, attracts thousands of anime fans and
Mm,
feature panels, cosplay competitions, screenings of popular anime series, etc. And in Egypt, there's anime conventions such as Cairo International Manga Comic Convention, highlight the growing
wow.
interest in Japanese pop culture, yeah, across the
Wow.
region.
Have you ever been to a Comic Con?
No, I have not. Like I
Mm.
said, I don't think I'm like necessarily a anime fanatic. I like it, and I always sometimes even will watch an episode or two, like my
Sure.
some of the old series I love,
Yeah.
but I definitely not like that crazy. Not crazy,
Yeah.
crazy is strong word, like that in love of that. Let's just say
Sure.
that.
I mean, Comic Con, it also includes like other kinds of cult followings of
Oh,
Star
certain,
Trek, Lord of the Rings, those kinds of
yeah.
things. My dad's been to Comic Con quite a few times because he's a huge Star Trek fan. But at
Oh.
those, you get exposure to all of these other kind of cult followings. We say cult followings in a lighter sense. It's not like people are like literally sacrificing their own babies to attend there. It's not that kind, but it's just like it's a community and there's
It's
a
community.
very strong attraction and yeah, just a very devoted love of the art or whatever it is that the people are about. So anyway,
Yeah, I agree. So that's a very specific sense of how popular it is, how
yeah.
many people actually have watched or love Japanese anime in the Arab world. But then the question begs me and you, I guess, and hopefully you audience as well, why this anime resonates
Yes,
so much with them. You would assume these two cultures are so different that there's
for
no way
sure.
this theme that they try to explore is popular or attractive to a lot of Arabic folks. But you'd be surprised because there's a lot of relatable themes. Like
Really.
there's a lot of universal themes of perseverance, of friendship, or love, of self-discipline, self-discovery, which are, and also the collective culture that both the Arab
True.
world and Japan share. And there's also a lot of kind of shared cultural value of like community,
Mm,
honor, especially again, there's a lot of war happening in that area
mm,
also during the time like Lebanon at that time when Japanese anime first introduced, they were in a civil war, for example. So the idea
yeah.
of loyalty, of honor, um,
Sure. And
was like
collective just coming
and collective,
together.
yeah, yeah, coming
We've got to,
together,
yeah. Wow.
for the team. So there's reason, like historical reason to why they are specifically attracted to the audience at that time. So all of this thing kind of create a connection, a deeper connection between the avid viewers and anime characters for sure.
Mm,
Um, so even though you would think that they don't share a lot of things in common, but actually also reminds us in some sense that we
yeah.
are, no matter which part of the world we live, sometimes we do share more in common than we are different,
Yes, for
you
sure.
know?
For sure.
Yeah.
Regardless of culture or country. Yeah.
Yeah, and on top of that, as we also allude to it, that a lot of TV companies, television companies, that time also would dub or kind of alter even some of the narratives or sayings into Arabic that are more fitted to the audience.
Okay.
So narrowed that kind of language and culture gap, and they always use local voice actors to make them more relatable. And there's a lot of cultural nuances are definitely adapted to appeal to more people, to a broader audience for sure.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
this is also an active way from a lot of Arab countries to make the enemies more fitted to his audience and to his country, sometimes even to his politics. Because again, there's
Sure.
censorship were happening, which I think sometimes is not you cannot avoid. So yeah, there's a lot of reason to why they feel so close to it.
Yeah. It's interesting because I love watching the Studio Ghibli films, and you've probably watched them too. And when you hear them in English, because they've got a whole cast and everything like that, but then when you hear them and then read the captions, quite often the captions differ than the audio. Because we like to have the captions on in our household because sometimes my husband and I like to watch TV late at night. We don't want to wake up Lincoln. But it's interesting because even when I hear the audio, I'll hear the audio, read the caption, and the caption has a much deeper meaning or has a much stronger command of the intent of what is being said as opposed to the narrative. And I'm just curious if there is probably, because there's hearing it and then there's translating it too into spoken language, and the impact of either of those can really influence the messaging. So
I agree. I
Yeah.
definitely agree. I used to be a translator like early on in my career.
yeah.
I do a lot of
You would know.
translation. One of the reasons why I did the master, which is in culture, of course, is because when I was being a translator, I didn't realize knowing the words, what words to translate the meaning is not necessarily the most difficult, but to understand what's behind the meaning, the cultural aspect of it definitely was the most difficult part for me, at least,
Yeah.
in translating a language. And like a word can mean very different in different contexts, in different culture. So I think like finding the local voice
Sure.
is definitely really important when you're translating a language, because then you have to kind of also alter the tone. Sometimes even the tone changes to make it cater to the people who are listening, the receiver of the message. And otherwise, it can be, I don't know. It's really difficult to kind of say because it really depends on the scenario, situation you are in,
sure,
and the
for sure.
intent. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can see the relatable themes. I see even just Eastern kind of culture and more collective cultures. And there are themes that will resonate stronger within collective cultures than independent cultures, where if you have a film from Disney, usually it's like one person becomes that hero and they're the ones fighting everyone. And then they go through their struggle, they fall, but they always succeed. And I think that's what I've loved even when we were in school together and we would do our international movie nights. When we would watch films from Japan, China, I think there was some from Jordan and Saudi Arabia, India, there was just a very different arc of the story. In the West, like stories just always have a nice little bow kind of wrapped around it and attached.
Yeah.
And yay, the hero rose up and he's victorious and the enemy was defeated and everyone's happy. Whereas in a lot of different other films, a lot of different cultures, it's a very different narrative. It's a very different story arc that you're seeing. And sometimes it doesn't resolve. But more often than not, this is what I love about Studio Ghibli, is that it's always about the collective. It's always about family. You look at Nausicaa. It's about the community coming together and trying to mutually stop this big iron giant or this big monster from destroying the earth. Or even if it's My Neighbor Totoro, you don't just have one of the girls, it's the whole family, and it's this coming of age sisterhood kind of. Anyway, there's just so many more rich, I think, values that come out of cultures I see out of more Eastern or collective centered cultures than I find in more Western film.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons which we're gonna get into right now is why, like I said, like Disney shows, programs are also introduced, but why they were not getting any traction while the Japanese anime did is because of that point you just made is one of the major reasons, because a lot of the program that were introduced from the West, like Disney, they usually have very simple plot. Winnie the Pooh, Disney, they were just like actually even if I watched some of them, but I don't recall one single plot. of anything. They're having fun. I
hilarious.
don't know.
A lot of physical comedy in the 1980s. There was a lot of, and even earlier than that, it was a lot of physical comedy, but it was usually one person.
They
One
really
character.
simple. Yeah, one character, one very simple things. So a lot of there's not much like necessarily exploration of themes and culture significance was like would explore in those shows. But then Japanese anime more often than not explore very complex things and usually have really complex plots that attracts like young and older alike. You know, they even one of the shows,
Interesting.
remember when I was younger, they even have a little baby detective and it would solve crime and it would be very elaborate and complicated crime. Yeah, but
That's
it's
so
also
funny.
like, and then they give you some scientific things about solving a crime. They use science too.
Yeah.
So for example, there's you would watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really complicated.
Yeah.
And so definitely that's one of the reason is the cultural kind of disconnection that the Arab world doesn't this is too simple for us. They don't see how they can relate to it,
Sure.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And another thing is, as you also mentioned about the individualism and the collectivism, the individualism that will show on a lot of Western cartoons, a lot of Arab folks kind of resonate with that, right? They don't relate to that. And other social norm, cultural norm that are very significant and presented in the West are not
Yeah.
understood by a lot of Arab
Right.
folks. That's
Yeah.
another thing. And also like shows like The Simpsons, if like you want to talk about more complicated or maybe more adult themes like The Simpsons, like they sometimes may have too liberal of a plot or the humor might be too dirty even sometimes can conflict
Yes.
with the conservative nature of a lot of the Arab societies.
Right. Or even, I would even say just the ways in which the kids spoke to the parents was very, yeah.
Sometimes really direct and like here we see it's equal. That's why the kids can talk to their parent however they want. But necessarily how young folks treats elders in our world. So like there's kind of conflicts on that as too. And additionally, some of this animation also would racist jokes and portrays like white people the hero.
Yeah.
They portray then they will make fun of other ways like black people or like the Arab people, indigenous people and put them
Disney
in a very,
did a lot of that. Yeah.
put them in a very not so good of a light. Let's just say that.
No. I still remember early black and white Disney where they end up in, I think, an Arab town or something. And so they play a very stereotypical kitsch sound of an instrument that was always associated with kind of Arab or Eastern cultures. But the person was always a bad guy getting Minnie. And Mickey had to like defeat him from getting Minnie. So it was very fear-inducing, very othering, very hateful, very xenophobic. The other thing I would say, just as someone who grew up in the Western cartoons, violent. Like just if you even look at Looney Tunes, okay, so if you look at the Roadrunner and the Wild Coyote, the things that they do to each other, and of course in privileged spaces, that kind of violence has never really happened to us. So it's easy to laugh about it.
True.
But how does that resonate with other countries or cultures that the West has violently oppressed? There's a lot of, even when I was working with a lot of refugee communities and looking at cartoons that children could watch, for Western film or Western cartoons, it was really hard to find cartoons that didn't have some element of violence. And when these kids are coming from war-torn, violent situations, maybe lived in refugee camps or experienced war, the last thing they need to re-trigger them are these cartoons that have demonstrated violence. But for us in the privileged space, it's funny. Why would that be upsetting? And so I wonder, not seeing a lot of anime, but I wonder if there was a lot more built upon the relationship as opposed to just being funny because I bonked him on the head.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of Japanese animation usually, again, explore a lot of complex themes and cultural norms. Like the most kind of, I guess, Doraemon. Doraemon is like a little robot cat from the future.
Vietnamese? No, is that Japanese?
No, that's Japanese. That's Japanese,
Yes, I know that one.
like that probably is one of the early one that I watched. They really cater to kids. And sometimes it's really funny too. But even then, It's about friendship. It's about solving problems. How about how
Yeah.
technology cannot always resolve all the problem? Because Doraemon is like from the future, right? They have
Oh,
this little cat had all the gadgets to help you resolve anything you want, but then at the end of the day, they don't really help you. At the end of the day, if you have to
interesting.
conquer all those things, like
Wow.
it's very, it's sometimes it's really simple concept,
Yeah.
but for kids, you're like, oh wow, you learn a lot of things. That's not built upon violence. That's not built
Right.
upon about like necessarily about racist jokes or inappropriate
Right.
jokes.
Or hero
And
complexes.
yeah, there's no hero complex. Usually is it's anti-hero complex. Like you have all the
Mm,
gadgets, but yet you cannot resolve problem. At the end of the day, you have to do it yourself.
yeah. Which is very
Technology.
much kind of the supremacy and the ways in which even America or even the Western world was formed was in dominance. It was in putting someone else down and look what I've conquered.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
then
mhm.
that does translate into the cartoons and the messages. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of great reasons I think why Japanese anime resonates with actually not only the Arab world, like me personally also resonates with me. Like when I think of a lot of this animation that I watched when I was younger, I always have fond memories.
Yeah.
Neither of them that I love, at least none of them I want to love are support of violence. None of them are really like aggressive or inappropriate,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they teach you about how to the common things that happens around
Mm.
you about love, perseverance, and community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
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 So yeah, so
Yeah.
that's kind of the
Very cool.
reason, yeah,
Yeah.
why Japanese anime is popular in the Arab world.
Wow. Thank you, Hoshin. This was really fun.
Fun. I also
Yeah.
prepping for also fun because again, I did not know that I also learned a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it does fit with Canadian salad. There's so many people from Japan that live here, so many people who are Arab, who are from Lebanon, Egypt, and other Arab countries that could probably resonate. We would love to hear back from you on this episode. There's other components that I'm sure we could have explored, but I think this was more of a, for you and me, a little bit of a phenomena, a little bit
Mm.
of a, oh, I want why? And that's interesting. And let's explore this. So, yeah, we'd love to hear your feedback. You can go to our website, canadiansalad.ca, or send us a message, hello@canadiansalad.ca.
Dossier.
Thank you. My brain. So, no, that's wonderful, Hoshin. That's really great. And it's going to make me look, I always do. I try to look at cartoons for my exposure to my son for things that are healthier. And honestly, Studio Ghibli has always been just such a positive thing for our family. So
Mhm.
I'm sure there's more like that. But anyway, so it's time for our Canadian salad puppety quiz.
Yeah, if you're new
Yes.
to us, this is the part that we ask each other questions that they didn't prep for, and then we
Yes.
just have to guess on the spot.
Exactly. And if you are new to Canada or you were born and raised in Canada, you may not know the answer to these questions. So we're all about collectively sharpening our knowledge and information about the world and about the place that we live called Canada. So
Mhm.
that's really
Exactly.
the goal here. So Hoshin, would you mind if I went first?
Yeah, please go first.
Okay. This is a question okay, I'm not even according to, because I don't even know exactly this source, but they did capture the question. So my question to you is, how many animation studios currently reside in Canada? How many
Oh,
how many animation studios does Canada host?
23.
23. Is that your final answer?
Yeah, I
Oh.
really don't know. Yeah.
It is 45, actually.
45 double. Oh my God.
45, yes. So this is all over Canada, most of them in Toronto and Vancouver. But it's I will include this link, but it's from Studio Hog, and they do a lot of gaming, animation, studio data collection. So this is, 45 in Canada. So that's pretty cool. So if you're in
Okay,
animation
okay.
design, there's opportunities for you. So
Okay, good
the
to
end.
know. Good to
Yes,
know.
yes, yeah.
Dan, double the number. Got it.
Yes.
Okay, my question to you is,
Uh-huh.
in which city in Canada hosted the largest animation conference, anime convention
Oh.
by 2023?
Oh.
You know,
The
So
largest.
all the way up to 2022, because I cannot find any data, 2024. All the
Okay.
way up to 2023, which city hosted the largest anime convention?
Well, because I just saw the animation studios in Canada total, and I saw a lot of Toronto. I'm going to say Toronto is the city.
Close enough. It's
Really?
Montreal. Yeah.
No, really?
Yeah, Montreal actually hosts the biggest
Really?
one. Over 35,000 people.
Oh my gosh.
I
Wow.
know.
Do you think you'll go this year?
No, I don't. I don't go. I just don't. Yeah, I don't. It's not really
I don't even
usually
know
my
when it
thing.
is, but yeah,
Yeah,
it would be interesting. It would be very, because I'm just a curious person, but it would be really fun to go and just,
I
some people
agree.
come to those just totally costumed out. It's really
I
amazing.
know some of them are really good. I had a friend, Audrey, love her. She loves Comic-Con because her
Yeah.
partner does. And then they make these elaborate costumes, like so
Oh,
realistic.
it's so
It's
cool.
so good. It's
It's
so
so
good.
cool. I love it.
I
I
love
do.
it.
I think, hey, you know what? If that's your thing, that's your thing, and you do you. And
I know,
I'm
it's
just gonna enjoy.
cool.
It is cool, and
Oh,
it's a great way to find community. So,
I agree.
anyway, but well, thank you, Hoshin. Thank you, new listener. We hope seasoned listener. We love you, and racist uncle. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Please do leave us a review on our podcast. We are on all major platforms. You can find us on the socials. I'm going to try and do better. I think I just need a software so I can like one post and it goes to everything. But like doing this one at a time has been really interesting. So, but we all that to say, we are on Blue Sky, we are on Instagram, and we are on TikTok. And you can check us out, connect us there. And we look forward to chatting with you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Canadian Salad is written and produced in British Columbia, Canada by Hoshin Ho and Andrea McCoy. Theme music is by Naver Avidyan from Pixabay.
This has been a good Drinklin production.